like it. I just call him Boswell. I thought it was cool. He didn't like it. But he did like all of you. As a matter of fact, he loved all of you. And we're going to share our love tonight. So, Ms. Leah, who's our first person? Oh, I should give it a ground. Okay. When you come up and speak, everybody, it's not an audition for a fellow. I can't afford the tickets anyway. But we're going to ask you, be cool with it. And then after the people we had selected, that has been selected by the family to speak, then any of you want to speak, you have that opportunity. And again, like in church, 2 to 3 minutes. Right? But this guy, William Guy,
Criminal.
was a very special man. So with that, we'll have our first person to speak.
I just want to say that I don't need the microphone. Those time constraint rules do not apply to the first two speakers. The first one, I would like to bring up his daughter, Kate Boswell. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We love you too. I love all of you. Thank you so much for coming out. I'm Kate. I'm Boz's daughter. As some of you know him. I know his dad. Where do I even begin? My dad was one of the greatest people that I ever had the pleasure of knowing. He treated me like a princess. He was so proud of everything that I did. He kept every single picture, every single little drawing that I did, writing or whatever, he kept it. But he was also a man that kept to himself. He was reserved, he was internal, he kept his cards close to his chest, so to speak. So that's why I'm very thankful for tonight. I'm thankful for all of you to be here to share your stories and your memories and to show me a side of my dad that I never really got to know. Like I said, I knew him as Dad. I remember coming into the rep, little. Days off of school, I would come in and sit next to him while he was working away on the computer in the box office. I have memories of coming down to the stage, running around, going down into the basement and bowels, and just, getting lost down there. I used to run around every square inch of this place as a kid, whenever Dad, I had a day off and Dad was here. So this place is like a home away from home for me, and you guys are my family. Dad lived a good life. He lived a full life, and he lived a life surrounded by people who truly cared for him, and he lived in a community where he was respected and given the respect that he deserves. So I don't want to be too long up here, but thank you all for coming, and we're here to celebrate Dad, so let's do that.
Yeah.
All right. Give one more time up for William Boswell's daughter. Oh, I should have meant that. William Boswell's princess. We rehearsed this, but and now we have another family we're ready to speak, the niece, Rachel.
Sorry, just trying to breathe.
Yeah.
Take your time.
Take your time.
I
this was a part of my whole life of coming down with my mom and my brothers to see plays, and then later I was able to be a student, so I was like doubly lucky to be not only family and to have all these great memories with my uncle, but I also got to be a student with him, and God help you if you did not remember your lines. It's an old joke, but it is so true. The blessings with Gilda and Kate and Myra, Donna, all of you guys are family, and I love you guys so much. And knowing what he had growing up and the difficulties, family was everything, and he loved you guys so much. And I'm so grateful he had that. My brother Malcolm could not be here, so I'm trying to get it together long enough to read the poem that he wrote in our uncle's honor. There are copies if you wanted one. Sorry.
It's in there, let it out.
I can't see as well as I did.
Unanimous.
Yes, please.
Without that, we'd all be dead.
Oh my God.
It's sad that Uncle Bill can't be here because there's so many memories of him being off stage when we were doing the showcases. And I loved having the classes over at the bank. It was my favorite place. So trying to carry that through with my brother's words. Uncle Bill, a flash of universe sped across his face, deep endlessness marked his stare, and satisfaction beamed from his tired smile. Flying in his single-railed spacecraft, the sun that shined off the chrome handrails was a mere metaphor of the thousands of stars he had shared the stage of his life with. He stood there, arms dangling from a tight grip, after his years dangled from the tight grip of satisfaction. This is his adventure through time and space, to be his universe, Detroit, upon which he gazes unafraid. There he stands silently, his cap worn of center, a perfect match for his life. Slightly off the tried and accepted center of social norm, dead center with his soul. His heart beats without rhythm, always focused on the ever-changing melodies, dancing around the beat of his city, his love, always focused on the play. The intertwining acts of drama and comedy, knitting the net of feelings over us, his audience, knitting the net of feelings, that magical net that allows him to capture the infinite in his silent stare. I followed his stare today and saw the city that was his, a city that held his mark, the city forevermore. Every corner is a constellation of memories. Every clickety-clack of iron wheels against the steel rail that guides this craft through his fragment of space, a line in this play that is his life. As he stands there enjoying this voyage through an urban jungle where he feels he is king, it is this memory of my beloved Uncle Bill that comes to me like the light of a distant star, a spotlight that illuminates my stage, my life, a little brighter because of him. Malcolm G. Boswell, March 2025.
No, thank you. Still clapping.
And we rehearsed this one.
It's criminal photos.
Give it up one more time.
All right.
By the way, if you're coming up on the stage, please be careful, because there's like a little lip thing here. If you haven't seen the show, I'm in the show and I do flips and stuff. I'm amazing, but who is amazing. He is a man who directed me. I just to act with him, and the most important thing, he's my friend. It's Les Travis.
I don't do flips no more, Mike. Good evening. First of all, I'd just like to express my personal condolences to Kate again and to family members.
Thank you, babe.
I'd like to also thank Leah for asking me to participate in this and being an honor and privilege. My name is Les Travis. I'm an actor and a director, human being, all that good stuff. And I have the distinct honor and privilege to be the director of the Detroit Repertory Theatre's Actors Workshop, which has been mentioned by Bill Fleece. And Bill Boswell was the founder of that workshop and the director for many years. And his service was interrupted by the bankruptcy of the city of Detroit. But before they kind of tried to, I don't know whatever. But dozens, hundreds, many people came through those doors. Professional actors. Some of those names, some of y'all might recognize. A lot of them you have seen around here. I like everybody in here who has in the workshop or taught in the workshop to at least stand or raise their hand. So you guys can take a look around. Take a look around. See, when you create something from scratch, when you say that I am going to teach acting in the city of Detroit, in that bank building across the street, wherever they did it, that kind of thing, and you do it, starting in 1975 until the bankruptcy, now I have dates, but yeah, think about that. Bill Boswell epitomizes what the Detroit Repertory Theatre is all about. People say you can't. No such thing. No such thing. So how did I meet Bill? Well, I'm an actor. I was gonna try to audition for this play that another theater company was doing, and I happened to be in a play at Detroit Mercy theater company at the time, and one of the directors over there asked me if I would do their show. I was like, I gotta do this other show because, I'm trying to get this union card. And UD, they don't do that union card thing, right? So she said, oh, don't worry about that. I'll be in my play, my cast in the play at the Detroit Rep. I don't think Bruce knew that. So I came in my very first play at the Detroit Repertory Theatre. I was honored to be on stage with Bill Boswell. Crazy play, crazy time. And I would sit there, and it was a big cast. And the one thing I can remember distinctly about Bill, he would whip out that New York Times. They do that crossword puzzle. I'm like, that's the most fearless thing I ever seen. I can like do one down. And I do all the other New York Times games, but I don't mess with that crossword puzzle. So I was impressed already. So over the years, and I was fortunate enough to do another play with him. I never participated in a workshop during those years when Bill was running things. And then it went away for a while. And one day Leah called me, and I met with another gentleman that's here. Where's Mr. James Means? Right over there. He was on the board. And James said, this workshop got to come back. And he worked diligently to kind of light the fuel under us, to make sure that there was greenbacks, on the table, because it wasn't coming from the city no more. That kind of thing. And Leah asked me to start the workshop. One of the first things that I did was that I met with Bill. Guess where I met with him, Kate?
Cass Cafe.
Cass Cafe. You said, amen. And again, Bill reminded me that that's where he met his beautiful, gorgeous wife so many years ago. And like you said, your father didn't say a whole lot. He didn't have to. He didn't have to. You could just feel that love that was there. And he sat there and he didn't try to tell me how to do it, what to do, this and the other. We talked, I asked him about the history, I asked him about the format, all those types of things. And he said, anything you need, just, come and ask me. That kind of thing. And that's the kind of person that Bill was. So he said, Kate, you said that your father treated you like a princess. Only a king knows how to treat a princess. Your father was a king, a mountain of a man. He kind of reminded me a lot of ways of my dad. He did not say a lot. But when he did, you need to listen. I went upstairs when I first started the workshop, and it's drawers and drawers and drawers and drawers and drawers of rubber butt, baby butt, whatever. Voice and diction stuff. I mean, just stuff. When they were doing stuff on carbon paper. So today, I called Leah yesterday and I asked her what did I need to bring anything, so on and so forth. And she said, I said, well, I'm going to be coming over early because guess what I'm doing right now? The workshop started 2 weeks ago. And Saturday is the day that we assign scenes. So I came over this afternoon and I was up here rushing to get them scenes copied before 6 o'clock. And I was like, I better get this done because, Bill ain't going to be, feeling too great about us not having that work getting done. So I'm here to honor that man. I consider him to be a friend. It's not like we spent hours and hours together. We did in the theater. But I knew that I could count on him. Bill should sit up there. Leah called me too, this woman right here. God bless you. She called me about a decade ago and asked me if I would be interested in directing at Detroit Repertory Theatre. At a time when opportunities were not extended that often in this community to African Americans. Even though I had won the theater awards, I had directed plays, none of the equity theaters around here had offered me that opportunity. And Leah did. And I always I used to hit Bruce all the time. Bruce said, I don't need directors, I need actors. So once he decided to not direct anymore, an opportunity opened up for me. And Bill would sit right there. And there's only two people that I really cared about what they thought about my work. And one of them, of course, was the boss, Bruce Milan. I need to get hired again. But I never felt better after a show opened and Bill would come up to me and look me in my eye and shake my hand and say, good work. Again, not much, not overly effusive, but real. And that meant a lot to me as a professional, that I could meet the standard that Bill set, that Bill saw, and the promise that he saw me, because I'm sure that they wouldn't have hired me to do this job without, he's okay. So again, I thank you all for being here. I take legacy very seriously, and I feel like it's upon me and our staff to continue to give Detroit folk that want to come in and participate in the process of learning theater, because that's what we do. We don't do no film, we don't do no TV, we don't do no radio. We in there doing theater. So they're going to enunciate. They're going to hit those consonants and form those vowels. And that's my promise to you, Mr. Bill Boswell II, my friend, my companion, my colleague. And God bless you for everything that you gave this community. God bless you for raising this beautiful child. It's not easy. And girl child, yeah, especially when you love them. So again, I appreciate you all being here, and we're going to carry on. When people think of that Detroit Repertory Theatre Actors Workshop, Bos's name is always intertwined with that, and there's a reason that it should be. Right now we have about 66 students.
Yeah.
Of all flavors. I have a 91-year-old student. Oh yeah, this is her 5th time.
She's a virgin?
Well, if you can have children, I guess yes. I don't know, but I'll introduce you. The show up Saturday, $200, man. Let me get off the stage and let Michael have these jokes.
My play wife, that's a joke I'll tell you about later. And Bird knows, but she has put her heart into the theater, which is part of her legacy. She's a board member, and more important, she's a friend of the Repertory Theatre. Miss Mary Case. We call her MK.
A lot of people are saying Boz is a man of few words, but he was a man of letters. Latin, studied the classics, and a lot of words that he put down on paper. And during the pandemic, I picked up his book again, the last edit, and was reading through it, and I texted him and said, thanks for helping me get through some of this, because he was a writer that explores things. I didn't want to be a writer, but I was trying to figure out what to write in the book of life. I know a lot of you probably went through that during that time period, so when I thought about what I could say about Boswell, I want to read one of his poems. This one is titled Christmas Eve 2000. I sip brandy. Beatle ballads play. Wife and daughter sleep. My imagination floats outside, looking through its window at an aging man with a pen and little to say. The mind's eye rises to the clouds and sees the rooftop where its body dwells. Rockets to the moon and sees the planet, retreats to the edge of the galaxy and perhaps sees the sun around which it orbits, or to the edge of the universe and loses sight. Or my imagination floats inside, trying to push that pen. My mind's eye could retreat to my ego and see hubris, where there is simply life. Retreat to the id, where life is a servant. To my brain's cortex or beyond, where life is simply unmemorial, lost in the mechanics of subatomic structure. But no matter, it returns here and now. These escapades into macrocosms and microcosms are not escape from life, they are miracles.
Still clapping.
Thank you, okay?
What?
Special man, such special people. And now I'd like to bring up, I got a lot of friends.
I am live streaming.
So my intro is gonna say, this is my friend. Okay, so I'm lonely. This guy, I had so many adventures that share with you. I'll share with you, he and I were in a workshop together. The very first workshop. He called Hell. I'll let him talk about it. Mr. Michael Hodge. Come on down here, partner.
Yeah, I'm glad it's going to have a story to tell, man. My condolences to you, Kate, and your family. Man, oh man, oh man, I tell you, first time Boswell, I don't want to use this mic. You know, teaching to project.
That's right.
When I first met Bill Boswell, it was in his workshop, his first workshop. And I never, ever forget it. He asked me a question, what is comedy? And as I'm stumbling about, he yelled, "Find it!" And it was not many words, I never forgot that. And let me ask you, what is comedy? Never forget that. So that was the first workshop, but we were in each other's orbit, which is the Repertory Theatre. Sometimes we have a drink and talk, and me, my silly antics and whatever in the green room when I should be quiet and crack the jokes. And boy, when Bill laughed, he laughed. He laughed, but I call him Bill. Most people want to call Boswell, this and that, Bill. And so, being in his workshop, he was dealing with improvisation, improv, which I loved. Loved it so much, whatever. But he was a man of not many words. But to me, quiet as a killer, I'm thinking, this guy is Einstein. Because he has so much going on inside of him. And you could see it. You know, man of less words would sit at the bar, and when he says something, you try to listen and understand. Sometimes I read his poetry, I didn't quite get it, but he told me before he retired. He said, you know what I want to do, Michael? He said, I want to retire. I want to finish my book, which is... And by the way, Kate, you got a movie to make. You got a movie to make. This coincides with him. Edit is the name of the movie. And you got all these people to interview. So that's something for you. But Bill, no, he didn't say much, but he would talk to you and he would help you. If you going by him, you see something physically you're doing, he would just give you that voice like that, and this and that. But I love Bill. We partied together, we laughed together, sometimes probably cried together. And so many people have come through this theater, such as myself. And I got a chance to teach workshop for a while because they thought like, hey, you know what? They asked me, you want to teach the workshop? I'm like, I don't know. But when people see you, they see something that you don't see. And that led me into the workshop for about 6 years or whatever. But once again, I love Bill. Didn't speak much, but he has so much going on inside of him. So once again, I want to say my condolences to you, Katie, and the family members, and everybody else here. Love Bill. And what is comedy? Comedy! Yeah, I can project too.
I just look cool when I have it, you know what I'm saying? Cool, man. Thank you, Michael. That's my man. Next up, we have another guy that knew Bill very well, Mr. Jeff Nahan. Come on, give us some applause. This is a great show here. He's still the actor, still directs. He's still my friend.
That's Jack Nicholson.
We'll all do these things. What do we do?
It was 53 years ago that on this stage in 1972 that I was in a play with Bill Boswell. I was 18. I don't know how old he was. It was The Hairy Ape by Eugene O'Neill. And we were all a bunch of thugs in the underbelly of a ship back in the day. And he was the chief rabble-rouser communist character of the bunch. And he inspired every single one of us 18, 19, and 20-year-olds. We drank some awful colored water that was supposed to be rum. Even back then, Bruce didn't want to give you anything you might want to have a good taste for. But Boz, and I called him Bill too, Michael. I called him Bill, I finally got it. But my wife always called him Boz, because my wife Annette Petras and he were big on the equity liaison committee with people like Peggy and Trudy and stuff like that. He was a gentleman beyond compare. He's an angel to every single one of us. And he's the reason that I've been coming back to this place ever since 1972. Thank you, Boss.
I don't need it to protect.
Dry your eye and follow that.
Thank you.
Next brother I'm bringing up is my brother. He and I have been on stage together, doing a lot of shows. And it's always good to work with him and Tony. Look him in the eye, you know, stage, and you go on an adventure. The audience has a good time too, but we have a great time together. Great magic. That's why I call him the Magic Man. He's my friend. He's my brother. Please welcome Mr. Harold Hogan. Yeah, well, I lied. Wow. What can I say?
Wow.
I owe Bill an awful lot. An awful lot. And I want to share another thing, Lynch. You and I have another thing in common here. The first show we ever did at the Rep, we did with Bill. First show I ever did was Rhinoceros.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where I met. I can say that. Well, anyway, that's where I can say I met Bill. But there were a couple of times we kind of crossed swords. Not in a mean way. It was like in Rhinoceros, he had to teach me about upstaging. Yeah, I didn't mean it. Believe me, I didn't mean it. But you know, it's just right. And I thought my timing was right, but it wasn't. But he set me straight on that. And there was another time he was stage managing a play, and I did something out of sorts, and he had to set me straight. I took a little bit of exception to it, but he was doing what he had to do as a stage manager. He had to chew me out good. He chewed me out real good. It made me feel like a little kid. So I had to talk with him and say, look, I'm not a little kid. You know? And what really interested me about that discussion that he and I had about that misunderstanding on my part, he said, we're men. We can talk this thing through. And when he said that, in my eyes, he went, that, because a lot of times, people want to treat you, want to do that. But he and I looked eye to eye. That meant so much to me. But there's another thing, too. I owe him a lot because of him, I was able to teach in this workshop. here at the Repertory. And I was here for over 30 years teaching. 30 years went just like that. I mean, and he was a great boss, but he was a great teacher. He was a great stage companion. There was a show we did, Possum Kingdom, Revival of Possum Kingdom Church. I found out how incredibly strong he is, not just as an actor who can deliver lines. I mean how physically, how physically strong he was. There was a scene in this particular play where I had to make him out to be a preacher, which he wasn't. So when he found out that I had kind of dropped the bomb on him, his character grabbed me and went out. And one day, I kind of lifted up on my toes a little bit. But when I lifted up and I got to the top of my toes, he kept lifting. And I came back down with a thud, you know, and there was someone down in the dressing room who heard this big thud. He said, "What happened?" I said, he picked me up in the air. And that happened twice during the performance, during the run of the play. But it was a good moment that we shared. But I want to say one other. I want to say one other thing, though. Catherine.
Turn off your cell phone, Joseph.
I want to say this to Catherine. I wish you had been there. I wish you had seen his face when he told me, when he shared with me that he was going to have a child. I wish you could have seen his face, like, I wish you could have seen his face like when he told me that you were born. I saw such a change come over Bill. Every time I saw him, like online, you know, the pictures that he showed, I'd see this glow on his face. I said, that's a happy man. That's a very happy man. I kind of wondered what I wanted to say when I got up here, but I wanted to let you know that. That man loves to the daylights out of you. So I just want to say that. Thank you, Bill. He's absolutely right. He loved you. And Bill had a glow when Bill was pregnant. He was just, I turned it off. Basically, it was throwing me under the bus too, by the way. I was going to tell him it was his song.
Your friendly neighborhood scapegoat.
Yes, sir.
It's always my fault.
Yes.
Doesn't matter, I just got here.
That's my wife. That's my wife telling me all the time. So I was like everybody else. I was trying to figure out what to say. You know, you were funny or serious and sound. And Harold almost brought me to tears. Michael did. Vince did. So I'm gonna be somewhere in the middle.
A lot of tears.
Yeah, tears of joy.
Dave Felsky's got a funny story. Where are you, Robert? Robert, are you still here, Kwiatkowski? You got a funny story
I got some stories.
about how you met him at
It's in there, let it out. You want a couple of stories?
Yeah.
Yeah. After I finish. Thank you. Him, Kate. Why don't you sit next to him?
Oh my God!
about William Boswell. So I was a young kid, and I knew I had talent, but I didn't know what to do with it and how to do it. And someone told me about Detroit Repertory Theatre. They had a workshop, and my family couldn't. Yeah, I'll go and learn stuff. So I went to the workshop. I was one of the Michael Hodge and I think we were the very first workshop. And it was Robert Williams and Bill Boswell, two demonic men. And what I say about that, they didn't play. They did not play. You heard this niece say about lines? I came to the workshop one day and didn't know my lines, and Bob was like, "Why not?" And I was like, "Well, you know, Bob, I'm in school, I'm doing this, I'm doing that." He said, "That's only 12 hours, you got 12 other hours. Why not?" "Well, I'm doing this, now. You had 7 days. Why not?" In front of everybody. So from that point on, I learned my lines. I never knew how to do my lines. But what I didn't realize, he was teaching me to be a professional. He was teaching me to be greater than I thought I could ever be. He was encouraging me, as he kicked me in the butt several times. And then socially, because I'm a poet now, and that's partly because of Bill Boswell. I wrote some poetry and stuff, but it was just playing around kind of stuff. And then one day, he and I went out somewhere, eating sandwiches on the grass somewhere, like Bella or something. And he was reading poetry. I know, this white guy crazy as hell. I said, "They're reading poetry, who does that?" And this guy has some magnificent poetry. It inspired me. Like the brother said, that we was talking in the bar, he said, "You can write one too." Boz was always encouraging us to be our best. Always. Yes. Always encouraging us. So then I got to know him socially. We used to hang out and stuff. What's that bar, everybody? The Cass Bar or something? Yeah, okay, all right. But and albums, albums. And then we get good music in albums. We get there, we get drunk cheaply. It was great. And so Boston, I was kind of socializing. Then I saw Boston on a date with this lady, right? And I said, "Oh, go ahead, Boston." And I went, "Gilda." She goes, "Michael." And Bob's like, "What the hell?" Because Gilda and I went to school together. She's a very good friend of mine. And, oh God, I love her so much. And I used to have a little TV show thing, and I was blessed to get her. She didn't want to do it. I made her do it. Come on my show and talk about her work and show us our art. I'm glad we do it. Kind of like Bob. He didn't think he could. He get tired. But he had an extra little push. It might be a hard push, or it might be a soft stick. He was there to help you. That's all he cared about, was helping other people. Bob never brought attention to himself. He always encouraged others. My very first play here at the Repertory Theatre was a play called The Adding Machine. And I had graduated from the workshop, and Bob encouraged me to audition. I'm like, "Man, I ain't gonna get in that play, you know, that's a real play, that's a professional." And Bob was the lead. And I got cast. And I'm telling y'all, I felt, well, what they say, we're not worthy. I felt I wasn't worthy. I was like, I don't be able to play with my teacher. You know, he's great and everything. And I watched him, and I watched a master class on the side of the stage. And he always encouraged me. I was super nervous. You know, I had to, you know, before everyone on stage, you know. But Bob said, do this, do that. Bob did it well. I am honored that the family of Leah asked me to get this, MC this wonderful event. I have so many great memories of Bob's and poetry. I love poetry. And again, I got it from Bob's. I love it. And I didn't understand his poetry. I'm gonna tell you now, I'm gonna be truthful because I was like, what that mean? Bob was deep, y'all. Bob was deep. He'd come up and sit back there in that corner right there. Yeah, that's where he's sitting and watch the plays. And I thank God that he brought Bill Boswell, Boswas, into my life. This is Leah, y'all.
In case you thought I was Boz. Follow that.
Yeah, there's some berets here tonight.
Hello, everyone. My name is Leah Smith. I'm the Executive Artistic Director here. I just have to say, Kate, I talked to Kate last week, and I said, we were talking about how many people we think were gonna come, and she was talking about how she was just looking forward to really seeing the theater side of his life. And I'm like, oh, you're gonna get a lot more of a wide variety of the worlds he traveled in. I am so happy to see there are people from the Alvins community here tonight, Cash Cafe, the artist community. There's a couple stragglers of the Tuesday Night Club. And yes, a whole lot of theater artists. But I wouldn't expect any less. Hiya, Leah.
I worked with him.
Whoop,
I don't need. Okay, see, I worked with Boz in the office for 20 years. Yes, he was a man of few words, but the words he did speak were choice. Every day, hiya, he would say with a little like devilish glint in his eye, hiya, Leah. Weeks go by, and he saw I wasn't really reacting the way he probably wanted to, and then he had to tell me it was a city in Florida. And I will never stop not hear that, and the way he said it, hiya, Leah, first thing when I would come in the morning. He was funny. He was a funny man. People haven't been saying that really, but okay, so Hustle and Flow. Does everyone remember the movie Hustle and Flow? And the Oscars. It won the best song for a theme. The next morning, there's Boz at the desk. I'm around the corner. It's hard out here. Wait. It's hard out here for a chimp. That's what he's saying over and over all day. It's hard out here for a chimp. For those of you who don't know the song, the word is not chimp. Boz was my sanity in that office. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Thank God for that balance. There was the Sturm and Drang, and then there was Boz. When he retired, I didn't realize how much I would instantly miss him. He was gentle. He was attentive. As I took over this position over the past couple years, I turned to the new people that were sitting in his chair. We always call it, that's Boz's desk. And I said, I need a Radar O'Reilly who sits in this chair. And after I got over the fact that no one in the office knew what that reference meant, you all know, his daughter has told me that how I knew him to operate in that office, so organized, so attention to detail. And all I can say is I'm so thankful for Boz, for making me laugh, for being just so kind, a true lover of the arts. I call Gilda and Boz the Detroit artistic power couple. They're both so brilliant. It's all in you. Okay, and then Kate told me last week, I asked her, when was the first time you remember seeing your dad act on stage? Well, I got a clip from it. So I'd like us all to watch this little bit of Revival at Possum Kingdom. All right.
We are happy to be here tonight. Excuse me, Reverend, but there will not be a healing service tonight. You might want to make that announcement. There will not be a healing service tonight. That's because we ain't got no piano player. You might want to make that announcement. We will not have a healing service this evening because we don't have us a piano player. Thank you, Miss Cypress. However, there will still be some singing. You can't have a revival without a song or two. Amen. And to open the revival this evening, first off, we'll have a real spirit-rousing hymn played by Brother Buddy Peacock here on
The rec has always been a place that.
And John Hardy's in the house too. You know, there are two legendary actors that I met when I was young and aspiring, because I worked in bars where they were regulars. One, Council Cargill at the Rhine. I was 20 years old, 21 years old. Then I was 21 and got my first cocktail waitress job at Alvin's. And everyone said, oh, you gotta go meet Boswell. He's sitting down there. And I'm so thankful. You guys know the Detroit Repertory Theatre would not be what it is without the contribution of Bos. Right. Thank you for being here. And we'd love to hear the rest of your story.
No, thank you.
Volunteers are necessary.
Thank you. I get caught up in my presentation. Two I didn't mention. One, I'm not sure I mentioned how much he loved you as a lady. And when you were in your mother's stomach, he was glowing. You know how they say pregnant women glow? Bos was glowing. He wasn't pregnant. The other thing is, like Leah mentioned, there are a lot of actors that come through here. We who are actors, we know it's just a job. There's some people that are celebrities and stuff like that, but they're still our friends. And one of the guys who went through the acting workshop was named Bonnie Curtis Hall. Some of you may have known him. And I talked to Bonnie today, and Leah spoke with him and told him about Bos. And he said, Michael, please tell him this. I said, I will. He said, Bos was a gentleman. Bos gave me my fundamentals for me to be where I'm at today. And I'll always appreciate it. And tell him I love him. Bonnie Curtis Hall. Okay, so now, this is your opportunity to take time to speak. Where's the gentleman that was standing there bugging the hell out of me? Come on. Come on, bro. Excuse me. What's your name, sir? Cat. Cat. Everybody, Cat. No, actually, I'd rather be here. Hi, folks.
Hey.
Any of you know who I am?
Yes.
Well, I don't know very many of you, but I knew Boswell. How many of you know Boswell just because you're here from the theater? Hands. How many people knew Boswell just because of his relationship with Gilda? How many of you knew Boswell just because of your relationship with Albans? Okay.
I was too young.
I want to let you know that I'm not one of any of those. The day I met Boswell changed the trajectory of my life. I was sitting in a bar right across the street from the art building at Wayne State. There was a hotel with a bar in it. I can't remember the name of the hotel.
Bellcrest. Bellcrest.
Yeah. And it was about 1979 now. And I was sitting there, it was, can you hear me? I'm sorry. This is speaking in one of these things. I'm a different sort than most of you.
Hey, you're alone.
That night, I was by myself. The place was empty. It was about 1:30 in the morning. And I mean, the place was empty. I'm sitting there being a brooding artist, and I hear this noise. And the noise was this loud, clunking noise that was emanating from the front door. And I couldn't help but look around. And here was this absolutely stewed, drunken person pushing a bicycle through the door at 1:30 in the morning. They had a cast on from here to here to here. And they were walking around. Just like that. And he walked over to me and he said, "My name's Boz. What's yours?" And that moment, in that one moment, he changed my entire life. We never talked about theater. We talked about jazz. We talked about art. No. We talked about science fiction. He was a science fiction freak. We shared a library together for 2 years. We went to places you wouldn't even think about going. And we did it with absolute joy. And we never talked about theater. We never talked about Alvins. We never talked about anything except the love that we had for the life that we were pursuing together. And we did everything together. I mean everything. We became brothers. I mean brothers. How many of you knew that Bill Boswell was a tournament caliber ping pong player? Did any of you know that? Oh, there's one person way back there that knew that. How many of you knew that he loved, well, like I said, his love for science fiction, his love for jazz, his love for, I can't even begin to tell you.
Grew up in military
We
school.
went every place, like I said, every place together. And the first show that he finally talked me into doing a show. And the first show we did was in 73, 72? Who remembers the Three Penny Opera?
It was in 75.
Was it in 75?
Yes, it was.
I can't remember anything. I knew Bill before he met Gilda, and I knew Gilda before she met Boz. That's kind of interesting. Did you know that he was an avid fan of the Gold Cup races? We used to go to the river and spend hours and hours just thinking about where we were going to sit for the Gold Cup races. And we would do that. We would go to Ann Arbor. We went to places, like I said, you wouldn't believe. And then he brought me to the Rep, and the rest is history, of course. I designed sets that almost every single one of you have been on. But the greatest thing that I ever did with Boz wasn't any of those things. It was the joy that we had together, where we went. idea what Boswell was like when he wasn't here. And I'm gonna tell you something, he wasn't like this when he wasn't here. He was this amazing person that was generous and very adventurous. And, well, everyone says giving, but, and it's, of course, his humor is legendary. But the things we talked about were just beyond. But the best story I have about Boswell didn't take place 100 years ago. The best story I have about Boswell is the story that happened 3 or 4 months ago. 3 or 4 months ago, Boswell, having been with Kate, we had exchanged when I left Detroit. I gave him something that was very dear to me, and he kept it with him everywhere he went. And I didn't even know it. And several months ago, out of the clear blue, I got a phone call from Boswell saying that Kat, who he had given this object to long before, she had found it and thought maybe he would like to have it back. I didn't know any of this was going on. I hadn't heard from Boswell in a long time. And my memories of him, of course, were always there. If it hadn't been for Boswell, I'd never gone into theater. If it hadn't been for Boswell, I would never have met my wife. If it hadn't been for Boswell, I would never have enjoyed myself as a jazz. He taught me so much about a world that you guys didn't even know. And then,
I'll second that.
and then he called me one day. And he said that Kat had given him back this thing that I had given him. And it struck a memory that he hadn't had in a long time. And out of the blue, out of nowhere, I got a phone call from Boswell. We talked forever, it seemed, that day. I couldn't believe my ears. I was hearing him, and he told me what happened to him. How this thing that I had given him had rekindled some memories, and he needed those memories. So, about 3 years ago, he moment that we stopped talking that day, I was totally overcome with grief and happiness and joy. I was crying my eyes out because he remembered me. Because he remembered me. And because of that, I called him every day almost. And we would never talk about theater. We talked about all of those wonderful moments that happened before. And I wept that day. And then, about, what was it, 3 weeks ago? 4 weeks ago? He called me at 8:30 in the morning. I'm going, Boswell, it's 8:30 in the morning. Why are you calling me? He says, I don't know. I don't know why I'm calling you. I just know I needed to call you. And so I said, well, we'll talk a little later. And 10 minutes later, he called me again. I said, Boswell, you called me 10 minutes ago. He said, well, might as well talk to me. I said, it's 8:30 in the morning, I just woke up, give me a minute. And 10 minutes later, he called me again. And he said, I'm having some difficulty with my memory. I need you to help me. And we talked. And I had to tell him that day. Because he couldn't remember Gilda's name. That day, he could not remember Gilda's name. And I had to tell him it's Gilda's name. And I cried. I cried so hard I couldn't believe it. That was the last time I talked to you. I talked to you that same day. And everyone cheered that he had fallen and he'd be back. He never came back. I might have been the last one of his friends that even talked to him. And I cried. And ever since then, all I can think about is the memories that happened long before this place. Long before all of the awards and accolades that I got, having become a designer and a technical theater person, had little or nothing to do with theater, with art. It has everything to do with him being my brother. You said earlier, Bill touched a lot of lives. And one thing, we respect his family, we respect his theater.
And laughter.
Respect. Now, anyone else like to speak? Come on. Oh, yeah, I'll get you next, okay? Cool.
Mr. Bosworth, he was one of my teachers here. Now, I graduated from the Repertory twice. I went on from here to do about 300 television shows. Also, I'm a professional magician, all a tribute to the theater here.
Are you a professional magician?
Yes.
Can you make somebody disappear?
But the thing I learned from Bob, now I was never good at remembering lines. And Boss told me, he said, you're gonna know those lines. And what I did, I had a teleprompter in back of the class, and I couldn't even read the teleprompter. So Boss said, when you come back again, you better know those lines, because he believed in you knowing those lines. And he was so patient. He was very, very patient with people. And he was loving in a way that you just had to love him. And he gave us a thing in class, I remember, it's called The Brigands of the Bayou. And I've been trying to find that paperwork on The Brigands of the Bayou. Now, also, because of the Repertory Theatre, I've been able to travel all over the country. I travel with Sam Cooke's daughter. We travel all over the country doing shows. I've been in about 4 movies because of the repertory here. Now, I was shy going on stage, but acting takes you from the real person you are into a character. You become a character. You're not acting you, so you don't have to be afraid of, yourself. You wake up in the morning and you could be a penniless bum and come on stage and be a wealthy millionaire. So, Boz was one of the greatest human beings I've ever met, that taught me so much about acting and being in front of the audience. Also, I used to work with Channel 7, not Bill Bonds, Kelly and Company. I used to design for Kelly and Company, all because of the repertory, things I learned here. So, Boz, his spirit is still here. He hadn't gone anywhere. You can feel his spirit in the theater. So thank God for Boz, thank God for the Repertory Theater. And also, I'm a Tuskegee Airman. We teach young people to become pilots. Thank you. So God bless all of you, and have a wonderful evening.
Steve learned about the guy you didn't know. Okay. Who's that? You sir, come on up, please. And I have somebody over here. Who? Come on, I can't see. Come on up. Okay, we're gonna be like in a Black Baptist church. 2 minutes.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Hey, everyone. How y'all doing? Thank you. Meeting, I didn't get to know Boz very well, but meeting him was a blessing. I am Kate's boyfriend, and, you know, when I was Facebook stalking her a year and a half ago, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. So, you know, I'm Facebook stalking her a year and a half ago, and I'm like seeing these pictures, and I'm like, who is this old guy with you? And this mustache and beard, it's impeccable. It's like he's about to lead the army of the Potomac to freedom, you know, it's really cool stuff. And she was like, that's my dad. I'm like, oh man, so now I'm scared, right? Because as those of you, the fellas in the room, especially, you know, if you have a daughter, you know, they bring a dude around, you know, you looking at them like, I'll break your face. But not him, he ain't looking at me like that, but he definitely looked at me like, we got cousins. And they're all bigger than me, so you know, but, you know, the first time I met him, she, you know, Kate did good by me. She put in a good word, so I was like, okay, cool. All I gotta do is, like, you know, at least look like I'm what she said, right? But, you know, I met him the first time, and he was, you know, extremely kind and respectful, and the first thing I noticed about him was when he shook my hand, you know, and I know a couple people, they remarked about this, but he looked me in the eye, and when he shook my hand, it wasn't, you know, some men, they want to try to, like, muscle you, you know? But it was a firm handshake, but it was one of, I don't know if respect is the word, but, and I felt like there was probably like an unspoken thing there, because I'm like, look, sir, like, you know, I'm here for this, and that's why I wanted to meet you. And a lot of people, they called him Boz, they had nicknames. I didn't call him Boz, I called him Sir because I was raised right. But, you know, but when he wasn't there, I did have a pretty cool nickname for him. You know, some of these pictures, I mean, he got some good looking pictures, right? So when he wasn't there, I'm like, yo, that's Big Sexy right there, okay? I'm like, dang, Boz, like, why you gotta do him like that? But he would always, when I would go over there and I would see him, there's two things that are baked into my memory. The first is, he was always performing, so his love of acting never went away. And while I didn't, you know, have the opportunity to see him in plays, I'm thankful for all of the stories that y'all shared, because that gave me a broader perspective. But one of the last times we were talking, he started speaking in German to me. And he was performing a role, and I was looking at him, and I was like, oh, so you saw Elon do that too. That's what we're doing, right? But he started, I was like, where's this from? And, you know, he was telling me about it. And I also got a copy of his book as well, because I wanted to get to know him better. You know, this is father, like, I have to. And I'm looking at his poetry, and I'm with you. I ain't understand some of that either. I'm not really a poet, but I'm like, yo, this sounds kind of fire. And then Kate, well, she's not a poet, she's really good with words. Like, she'd be beating me with some of those arguments, and she'd be putting out big words. I'm like, hold on, shush, let me look up what you just said to me real quick, so I can get you back. So you definitely got that from him, but, like, he loved her so much, and whenever we would pull out, like, we would go see him, You know, we'd talk for a little bit, he'd start speaking to me in German, I'd have Google Translate, and then we'd leave, but he would stand at the door. He would stand at the door every time, and he would stand and watch as we pulled away, and then he'd always wave goodbye every time. And he would smile, and I'm like, man, that's love right there. So, you know, I'm thankful, I'm almost at time, I'm privileged to be here, it's a blessing. Thank you all for sharing those stories and letting me be a part of this. I'm thankful to have met Boz, and I hope that I, like many of you, can continue to make him proud. Thank you very much.
I said Black Baptist Church. And you didn't call him sir because he was raised right. You saw how big his cousins was. You knew I understand, bro. I've done that. We're about near the end of this beautiful celebration. It's truly been beautiful. I've been choked up a lot. Yes, ma'am.
We have a group.
Oh, come on up. Ladies and gentlemen, Beyonce and her friend. Come on up, Beyonce. Sir, you mind helping me? You mind helping me, please? Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. I'm trying to be young. The Supremes, everybody, the Supremes. Come here. Diane, give you a hug.
Thank you. Thanks, honey. Hi there. We are the Actors Equity Association contingent. You've heard so many wonderful things about Boz. The other thing that you didn't hear about him today is what a fabulous union man he was.
Right.
Way back at the beginning of Detroit Rep, Detroit Rep was a professional theater. It wasn't a community theater, it wasn't a whatever else, it was a professional union theater, starting way back with Bruce and Dee and Barbara. Professional back then, professional now. And that's one of the things that I think is just another aspect of Boz that we need to add. He was a member of the liaison committee, the chair of the liaison committee, and the chair of the committee in emeritus for many, many years. When we had our meetings, our liaison meetings, guess where they were?
Cash Cafe.
And the rep as well. The rep always welcomed us with open arms. But just want to pass the microphone over to Trudy and to Dana and to Harold, who were all members of the liaison committee for a long time. So I don't want to trick you. I'm going to move the music stand. So
Well, I'm a newbie to this committee, and the whole reason that there is a liaison committee for Actors Equity, and especially in a city like Detroit, is that we don't have an office here. So if you belong to any other union, you usually have a place where you can go and, you know, voice your complaints or whatever. So as a newbie in Detroit in the 80s, I said, I guess I better find out what's going on. And so I went to equity meetings. And Boz was the first person that I met. Dina was the second one. And then all of these others followed suit, and many of you as well. It was a real shot in the arm for me to find out that there was, in fact, a liaison committee in Detroit, because it wasn't Chicago, and it wasn't LA, and it wasn't New York, where I could walk into an office. He did a lot of things, I think, for the community that nobody will ever know. And you could just, if you knew him, you knew that there was stuff going on with him. I didn't know him that well, but I'm really glad I got to meet him at all. Dana, you want some?
say a word. One little other thing before Dana. We may not have had an equity office here in Detroit. Our equity office was here at the Rep. If we weren't at the Cass Cafe, we were at the Rep.
Just
just want to say, I mean, number one, Boz, when he was the liaison chair, and again, it's a volunteer thing. He was volunteering for many years, and I remember one of the times we were in a meeting, and he said he's going to step down as a liaison chair. We need to have nominees. And he did the silent stare right at me. and then he said, any nominees? And he sat there just staring at me. And then he took a vote. There was no other nominees. And because of that, he had this, I didn't know him, but he had this sense, I didn't know him at the time at all. But he had this dry sense of humor that you're always like, are you kidding me? And one was every single meeting we ever had, if anyone knew about the Attic Theater, every meeting when he was a liaison chair, they opened it with the Attic Theater. And then they would talk about whatever issues that they had or concerns they had with the Attic Theater. Years after the Attic Theater was no longer, he always opened the meeting with Attic Theater. But the thing that gets me about when I think about him is because of him getting me with the liaison committee. And again, we're volunteers. That's all we were. We're volunteers. And because of these people, Jeff, Annette, DePetris, we were able to do things for the community that I can't tell you how much it enriched my life in regards to. We did things for Katrina. We did things for the main thing that we did. Everything we did, Equity and Friends Fight AIDS, and different donations we made for local not-for-profit communities, where people will never meet. And that's what that's what Boz provided for us, is the opportunity to enrich our life. And I can't thank him enough for all of that. And again, I'm thrilled that I'm actually here finally to meet Kate. And again, just to talk about the other side of him was that he touched lives that he had no idea how much he inspired people. And more importantly, how many lives because of him we touched that we'll never meet. That's right. And thank you for that.
I'm going to be like Harpo Marx and not say, but to say thank you, Bill Boswell, looking down up there, and thank you. He did Adopted Child, came out of that group. If you don't know what that was, and of course, Equity and Friends Fight AIDS, which was very close to everything. Thank you very much, and my deepest condolences to the family, Kate, and that. And thank you, Bill, wherever you're at.
He's probably at rehearsal. Thank you for that. We're about to close now. We're closing with a very special man. There are two, in my opinion, my humble opinion, there are two plays that put the Detroit Repertory Theatre on the map. One was The Petrified Forest. And everybody, you know, it's like Luther Vandross, I watched Luther Vandross special. Everybody loved Luther at the end of his career, but all the struggles he had at the beginning of his career. At the beginning of the career of the Repertory Theatre, they were considered a joke, because they hired anybody to do the role. Versus, you had a black mama and a white husband, and they wouldn't put their race because of their talent. And the Detroit News, Jay Carr, he ridiculed the repertoire. And the Petrified Forest came on the scene, and he was like, oh my God, Robert Williams, I thought he was Humphrey Bogart. But it helped. The other play, in my opinion, that put the repertory on the map was Lost in the Stars. And Boz played with another great actor. I told you before, I went with Harold, I went with Tony, I went with Lynch. And as an actor, Bob, you know, great actor, you know, you link up. It's real for us up here, y'all. Y'all think we acting, we real. Harold hit me one time, I'm telling you. But John Hardy did that. And before I bring John up, I'd like to ask the family, is there anyone from the family who'd like to speak before we close out? Anyone from the family? Okay. As they said, we've been trying to be light and laugh and have a good time, but you truly have our condolences. You truly have our prayers and our hugs and our love. And when we say anything you need, just give us a call, please. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. John Hardy.
Before God made the sea and land,
He held all the stars in the palm of his hand. They ran through his fingers like grains of sand, and one little star fell a left. Then the Lord God hunted through the wide night air for the little dark star in the wind down there. And he stated and promised he would take special care so it wouldn't get lost again. And we're lost out here in the stars. Little stars, big stars, glowing through the night. And we're lost out here in the stars. But we'll find you because Boz will lead the way. That is the lyric, some of the lyrics from Lost in the Stars. I had the greatest thrill of my life playing Stephen Marlowe to Boz's The Other Dad. My son killed his son. It's set in South Africa. I came to Detroit in 1973. And I'm going back to California after I do my job here so that I could take up my acting career. My father said, I thought you told me you were an actor. I said, I am, Dad. I said, I just need some money, you know, and I'm working for the state. He said, if you're an actor, you will act wherever you are. He said, because that never leaves you. It'll be all right. A couple of years go by and I'm still dealing with it in my head. And one day, a friend of mine said, have you ever heard of the Detroit Repertory Theatre? I said, no. They said, well, you should check them out. And I heard they had a workshop, an acting workshop. I said, okay, I'm gonna make this short, okay, as best I can. Because Boz was a very special man in my life at that moment. I did not know it then, but I came here and I met Boz, who trained me. I didn't know how much influence he would have. 2 weeks later, I was doing and the Dutchman, 2 one-act plays. And I said to Boz, I said, you know, I don't think I can do this. I've been up here a couple of weeks. He said, yeah, but you were acting in California, weren't you? I said, yeah, but you know, I was an extra and stuff, you know, blah, blah, blah. He said, no. You can do this. You've already shown that in workshop. And I was still a little hesitant. But Boz stroked me like I needed to be stroked. And he said, you get out there and you can do this. And God is amazing. Because those 2 shows kick-started my little minor career in the city of Detroit as not only a stage actor, but a TV commercial actor, an industrial film actor, and a few feature films. But it was because of the Detroit Repertory Theatre and Boz's push that got me here. So we may be lost out here in the stars, Boz, but we'll be there with you. You leading the way. In the blessed name of Jesus. Thank you.
All right, we have just one more. I want to end with a video clip. This is from 2021. Damien, go for it. If there's commercials that show up, I'm sorry, we'll try and skip through them. It's YouTube.
I don't have much more to say about the theater, except they were kind to my wife, Gilda Snowden, and she did the art in lobby program. She started that as I think as soon as we were married, and in 87. And then she did that, and she finally passed away in 2014. Damn, what a wonderful way to find a life. It was a wonderful life for me.
Thank you. Please share your stories out in the lobby. Let's have a champagne toast to him. And thank you for being here.
Signing off to those of you guys that were able to tune in, Malcolm, Leah, everybody, Lydia, hopefully you guys will be able to watch the replay, but what a night. Uncle Bill would have loved it. So I love you guys, and we'll update soon. Love you guys. Good night.
I need a free.